Hello.
Welcome back to the Bible Study Girl podcast. This is Sarita. The first voice you heard was the executive producer. What do you put? Parentheses, question mark, parentheses of this podcast, Bible Study Brother.
It is I, Bible Study Brother, but I'm also known as Icarus Gray over at Gray Area Anime. And this is the most wonderful podcast of your day. My album, Gray Matter by Icarus Gray, is out now everywhere that you listen to music, with appearances from BSG, Bible Study Mama, and a couple other people. So I hope you go and listen to it and get some motivation for your day. I've been getting some nice feedback from different people, including my sister, who has now started a beef between myself and Johnny Mac. And one day, whenever I meet him, I'm just gonna have to let him know we got beef.
You know, I keep meaning to make like a reel to show what you're talking about. So I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secreto. So I usually listen to music on Google Music, because back when they used to be something else anyway. So I would buy all of my records. I'm old, but I would buy all of my music on there.
So it was Google Play.
Yeah, it was on Google Play. I would just buy it on my phone so I could play it in my car. You know, no big deal. So I still listen to music over on Google Music. And so it was giving me a breakdown of, this is who you listen to this spring. Number one, Johnny Mac, because I love him, Jonathan McReynolds. Number two was the Gray Matter album. I've been playing that thing. I've said before, and it's true, like it's very, very true. I get stuck on repeat. Like I play, like when I like something, I just play it over and over again. This is a whole nother tangent, but we are talking about music. So just looking at the songs that I've listened to the most this spring, I was like, you know what? I haven't listened to a lot of the music that I had stored on my phone, those old albums that I used to play on repeat. I went all the way back to 2013, Fantasia, Pieces of Me. I've been wearing that album out, honey.
Girl.
And it takes me back to where I was 10 years ago. Like, I remember, because I was working in Pine Bluff at the time, so I would listen to her album on the way down there and on the way back. I was in a not great relationship, and her album carried me through. All right.
Is that If You Don't Want Me, Then Don't Talk to Me album?
No. She's like, you wouldn't be nothing without me. Where would you be without me?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's not that one. I could sing every song on the album, though, still to this day. So, man, memories.
Speaking of revisiting, we thought it would be fun because we've been doing all these blog recaps. Like, why don't we do like one somewhat very special recap of listening to our first episode and kind of seeing where we are now? And what's so funny about it is, so we're currently going through the Boundary series, and I wanted to be very intentional about that, and I wanted to record that episode, but I had a mishap where apparently I didn't hit record, so nothing got recorded.
It's recorded in the audio version, but the video component for the Bible Study Girl YouTube page is not. It's not.
But the ironic aspect of it is we talked about video and everything else on that inaugural podcast, which I thought was funny.
We did. I was not into video on that inaugural podcast. I was in a space where, hey, we're doing good just to be doing this inaugural podcast. So today's episode, like he said, is definitely not about a blog. It is about the very first podcast that was posted on the Bible Study Girl YouTube page. We did not have this initial podcast streaming. It just was, let's see if this is something I could even do. I was very hesitant
we're going to get that
it.
on there, by the way, because we need to get that up there so they can hear. Because I do want y'all to hear, because it's funny. And I think that listening to where we were then and then over 100 episodes later, it's very interesting to see where we are.
Yeah, I think this will be episode 126, 127, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look at the sheet. You know, I told y'all at the beginning the executive producer thing was like parentheses, question mark, parentheses. I have to keep up with way too much information.
Ooh, we just caught a bad cramp in
Charlie
my foot.
horse. This makes great video. This
Oh,
is actually being recorded. So you will want to see the moment the pain hit him. I thought he was in pain because he thought I was getting ready to fire him from his non-paid position, but it was
cannot with you.
legitimate.
No, it
It
was
was
real pain.
legitimate. It was
Real pain
legitimate
just hit me.
physical pain. Was that a sign from the Lord? Maybe. He like, get it
Mm,
right. Get it
girl,
right.
stop it.
It was great for me for us to go back and listen to the first episode. I don't know when is the last time I listened to it, but it was
Mm,
great because I hear in the first episode, I really dominated the episode. I
mm.
was not expecting that. I was because in my mind, that's the thing about memories. In my mind, I was quiet, quiet girl, and I let him take the reins, but that's not
Not at
the
all.
way the
You do
episode played out.
exactly what you do now, which is I try an executive producer and you be like, no, no, no. You be wait. You are the pitcher. I'm a catcher. The catcher is the executive producer. And I'm like, all right, throw this pitch. And you just waving me off. Like, no, I'm gonna throw this one.
It would be much harder to wave you out visually now. I'll have to send you a message in the chat, but people will be like, she must be over there chatting and her little face then went down. And she chat
um
box.
man, but there are so many like nuggets. So um the first nugget I got was, and I was talking to you about this off camera, is that we were we've seen a lot of social media growth. And I say that we've seen people go from, however many subscribers to 1 million subscribers, all this other kind of things, and seen a lot of growth. We've seen the evolution of what fame is, what fame does, and we've always engaged with social media in a way of not sharing everything.
I actually share very little about my personal life, which
Yeah.
is kind of like a
And it shows that we are very cautious about that because of how we approach the first topic, which the first episode is about our big fight and the fact that it was such a blessing for us to even be able to come together. And even as we talk about it, I can see that I have grand misconceptions about where we were
right.
uh, versus where we are now and versus where we were. If you listen to us going over those blog posts and what is forgiveness part two, all those different things. And then we had a whole conversation off air that showed even more about how much growth we still had yet to do. And this is almost 5 years ago at this point.
Which is it is crazy to hear us talk about it in the vaguest details possible. I mean, we still haven't been explicit, and I don't ever want to, but it was very vague. But
If you ask me off of this, if you see us out and you ask me about it, I'll tell you, I don't personally care, but I'm just respecting the wishes of the talent who don't want to talk about it. So
is he respecting my wishes? Quite often he likes to. I guess the thing about both of us is that I guess you are more
transparent.
transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because
are
it
more
don't
transparent.
you can't hurt me with what is my life and what I'm growing with. And
It's for me. I think my thing is I don't want it to become because I feel like if you give details, it becomes you lose the focus of. Do you know what I'm saying? People begin to debate, well, who was right and who was wrong. Do you know what I mean?
I
And it
mean,
doesn't even
people gonna do that regardless though.
matter. They're gonna do it regardless, but if you don't have no information to go off of,
I mean, even with that, even with sharing more about the situation, because I don't remember whether or not we actually did or not. I think I
no, we did
still
not. I can tell you.
respected your wishes that last time when I was like, I really want to talk about it. He was like, no. And
Well, what's the name of what's your other podcast? No rhyme or reason.
We ain't, and there's no reason to talk. There's no reason to talk about it over there, and definitely no reason to talk about it on Gray Area Anime. If inevitably I start a whole nother podcast with my wife, I'll talk about it there.
An entire podcast.
Yeah, let's start a whole other podcast.
Hey, listen, the thing is, I would be a guest on your podcast to talk about it.
I bet you would. I bet you would. But it was funny, but it was also the thing that was crazy about it though is we were so naturally polished to, like, if I listen to that episode, I'd be like, man, look at where these people are going. I would not expect all of the random pitfalls we'd be going through in terms of like trying not to overtalk each other and things of that nature. We do be working on it, y'all. Like, I know sometimes it probably don't seem like it, but old habits do die hard. But we do get better at letting each other talk and things of that nature. And like, we were very, very prophetic in terms of what we were wanting and kind of like what we were expecting. Yeah.
I'm gonna say you were. I didn't have any.
I mean, you came there. Like, I think, but also I think you were saying this in the boundaries episode. I think that's just one of those things about you that if you don't expect a bigger thing, then there's no disappointment if you quote unquote don't make it. And then there's a safety in that. And also you downplay the big things that you do regardless. So what big expectation can you see for a podcast when it's like you listen to a whole bunch of podcasts as we both do. It's like, well, I see all these people doing this. Like, what does my voice have to say? But like, what's crazy is you were still prophetic even in what you were saying, like the way you start the podcast, which I was so interested in. You're just a girl with something to share or something to give to the world. And it's like, but that's all you have to do. And while that seems so simplistic and so small, because I know how you are, that is a huge undertaking and a big step. Walking in your purpose frees other people to walk in theirs. It grows other people walking in their face. So I think you did have some big expectations. It's just not you're not always capable of verbalizing that.
Let me say this. I'm going to stick a pin in what you said. I don't think I'm incapable of big expectations, but I will share and I will continue to share that podcasting is not something that it's not on my list of dreams, right? We've discussed my wants and my desires. You know what my impossible things are, my big dreams. I'm not afraid to dream big, but my impossible dreams and for me and my big dreams for me is a husband that's a Christian man with integrity and some children. Those to me are bigger, more impossible dreams than podcast.
Listen, I'm gonna just let you know right now. You dropped it. You said it. You listen. You know what this podcast be doing. You just said it. That's all I'm gonna say.
But what I'm saying to you is, I don't want it to be thought of that I can't dream big. I have big dreams. It's just
No. I don't mean it like that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, podcasting is like, I feel like it is something that God has purposed me to do, right?
Right.
And I am a visionary in so many areas of my life. You tell me what you want to happen for an event, and I can do that. I can visualize it. I can see it. I can make it happen. But I don't really have and we talked about it before. You know, you said to me before you did executive produce me in this way that I need to have specific goals.
Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to, once again, because what I said in the podcast was we're going to be a video at some point. And this is before I had a podcast. Because again, y'all don't hear me mentioning it because I didn't have a podcast at the time. I had one, but it was just the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, which is what I was promoting then, which is still a thing. You can go check that out. We are very close to 500 subscribers on our YouTube.
Whoop, whoop. I was being mama with this now. It gets on my nerves when she do it, but look, it's in me.
She does her brick. Whoop.
Whoop, whoop. And she has adapted it.
That was the funniest thing. I'm telling y'all from watching The Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle.
No, just
Malcolm
The Middle. That's just The Middle.
No, it's Malcolm in the Middle.
It's not.
There's no such thing as The Middle.
I'm telling you, that's the show. So we'll just look it up. I'll let you look it
up.
I'm
Googling it right now.
Because that was not him.
Because there's no such thing as The Middle. It's Malcolm in the Middle. I know the name of the show.
Okay.
Thank you.
You don't, but it's okay.
Just told a story in the Boundaries podcast about how people be trying to argue with you.
Hold on. We go. Hold on. Nah, you go ahead. Nah, you do your thing. Keep talking.
I just did a whole entire, but no.
Let's just hey, you wanna look at this real quick? Look who's right.
You were right.
I know I was right. There is Malcolm in the Middle, but this is not.
But that's not. Okay. Well, I stand corrected.
I know.
I'm being humble. See how I just took it back? You were right, brother.
I know.
Like, no, it was Malcolm in the Middle. I can see, what's his name? Frankie Muniz?
Yes. And it's like, not even nowhere near the show.
Two different shows.
Like, there's
The Middle is a great show.
Malcolm has 3 boys. There's no daughter.
I put him in Malcolm in the Middle.
I see.
I moved Brick right over to there.
And Brick does look like a very, small version.
He looks like he could be one of those brothers.
Yeah.
He looks like he could be one of those brothers.
But
The Middle is a hilarious show. Back to what you were saying before we got off.
I don't even know what I was saying. Other than, see, this is what happens with our tangents. And we talk about this more and more with shows, just how quote unquote young we were at the time of starting the podcast and versus how old we are now. Because you can see that we hardly ever mention, hey, if you start talking, I'm going to lose my train of thought. These last 10, 20, 30 episodes, we got at least 15, 30 mentions of girl, now I'm going to lose this train of thought.
I think that's why I interrupt you so often, because I'm like, I got to say it, brother.
That's hereditary, because I tell Kade all the time, I'm like, hey, if I don't get to say it, I'm going to lose it. And I don't know how, if I'm going to get back.
And I think part of, you talked about it earlier, but I think part of our struggle to not interrupt each other is this is just how we talk naturally.
Yeah.
And to take how we talk naturally into a podcast format is a little itty bit of a challenge and a struggle and something that we have to work through. But like you said, I think you listen to the inaugural, because I titled it the inaugural.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait till y'all hear this episode. I really can't.
It is funny. We were open, we were honest, but it sounds really good to me.
Oh, yeah.
I did not think it would sound that good. I thought it would be like, wah, wah, but here you go. Just trying.
And I told, it's just because I earnestly at this point am more encouraged to, when God tells me to do something or when I know something can be great, I know people can be excellent at things. And I think sometimes I am just guided to people who will be great at the things that I see in them if they so choose to walk in purpose or walk wherever they need to go. And when I got the feeling, I was like, again, I don't have a solo podcast where I'm stepping out and talking about stuff that I know that I'm really good at. I just have this music podcast that I've been doing for a while. And I just had this inkling of this equipment that I have that I want to use it more. And I want to use it with my sister because we've gotten back to a really good place. She started this blog. I think that there needs to be some expounding, which is so crazy because I talk about that. And then here we go to blog recaps where we're just going through and expounding upon everything. Whereas I thought we were just going to have a plethora of topics that we would just talk about, dealing with Christian stuff, having guests, which we're working on getting back to. Y'all need to come on here and talk about your testimony. Stop denying what God is telling you to do. Because I know he been talking to some of y'all, knocking on that door. Answer the door so you can inspire somebody, man. Y'all are very inspiring. You're way more gifted and more talented. And to wrap up what I'm saying, like that's what I knew that you could do. And I just was like, there's no way this is going to be bad. And then, like, the whole time, like I said, I didn't have to do much. You were just yourself.
I was myself, which is very bossy,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that helped tremendously with that first episode. I think some of that too, though, is me. People don't believe it. I actually had this conversation with our cousin the other day, and she was like, you say you're an introvert, but you're always with the people. And I am, and I love people, but new situations and new environments and like large groups, I get the
I
bubble
want to
guts.
say, I think
I'm
it's more
nervous.
so you're with the chosen people, though, and you're with the people that fit within your environment. Like, because
Right.
that
I get
explains more to what
high.
you're saying. Like, because new, like, without any of your, so like, you are very giving to people. You work with kids, you work with the community. You have, you're working in the community. I can't really say much about that because I know
Yeah,
HIPAA
I go
NDAs and all of that, but that you do that as well, and that's way involved in the community in that regard. um Amongst all the other things that you do, but it fits within the web of the things. But when you go outside and it's like, you know
but even that, like, so when you talk about my community work, even that makes me extremely uncomfortable. But I
yeah.
feel like I have to help. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And we kind of talked about that in the boundaries episode. Like,
Mhm.
anytime I see a need, I feel like, oh, that's for me. Now, I am learning and working and adjusting that I can't fit every listen. He ain't purposed you to fit every hole you see. You can't fill it up. Like, you will run yourself down and run yourself dry. But new situations, new people, I have extreme anxiety. And so the way I handle that a lot of times is to just push through. Like that first episode was a very much so, I have to push through this because I am extremely uncomfortable and this does not feel good to me. So let me do that. I'll give you an example. Even what I'm doing right now this week, extremely uncomfortable for me. But I know that, again, this is something that's in my wheelhouse. I have a love for kids. I have a love for Jesus. So I'm doing it. I still need to work on boundaries and
Okay.
all of those things. But yeah,
So
I
overall, listening to that episode, it was a great first episode. I really did enjoy, like I said, kind of seeing where we were. I like seeing the hope that I had, and I'm glad we actually reached it. So I'm not even like disappointed that there was more that we had to work out with our situation, the beef, and everything else, because I was still excited about the fact that we were able to do it and that we were going to do more and talk about what it is like walking with God. And we've gotten so much experience and so many things that have happened and transpired over, like I said, the time that we've been doing this. It took almost a year and a half off in that way.
we did.
Uh,
We definitely took our
or
grief time.
almost, yeah, because we didn't have this current system. So back then, we would record like whatever episodes we could get up. And then, later on we've adopted this system where we record a lot in batches in terms of the blog recaps. And then we just kind of schedule everything else in, which is why we don't have like 300, 200 episodes. Cause if you've been doing something 5 years and you're doing something once every week, you should be at that number. But like grief year, like I said, that was like a year and a half of being off.
Yes, it was. And even when we got back to it, it wasn't a weekly thing. It was let me dip my toe back into this water slowly but surely. I think I dipped my toe back into life in general.
Yeah.
And now I'm then jumped in the water and I've gotten into old habits. I
Mm-hmm.
went from nothing to dipping toe into everything, and I'm overwhelmed and needing to find the balance in that. The thing is, I definitely I needed time, man. I
Yeah.
needed time. For a lot of people, it's best.
Oh no, I don't know what happened. I can't hear you. No. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I can't hear you. You're not muted. Did your mic come unplugged? Let's see. Nothing. I don't know what's going on right now. Huh. All right.
And my little microphone.
There you go.
Okay. I
Okay.
I
Sorry about that,
unplugged
guys.
and replugged. My internet is unstable, it's saying.
Oh.
So maybe that's what happened. Anyway, long story less long. I will say this. I feel there is lots of purpose behind the Bible Study Girl podcast. You do not know the obstacles that we have encountered in trying to record the episodes that we needed to record this week. I think that opposition speaks to the fact that our voices do matter and somebody needs to hear our voices and our story, whatever that is. I would definitely encourage anybody that's faced with an opportunity to do something that's outside your comfort zone to do it. If that's what God is calling you to do, whether it's something you are comfortable with or not, because you said it earlier, Bible study, brother, like there's somebody that's waiting for your story that needs for you to walk in your purpose because their deliverance could be held up in that. I've told this story on several platforms and in several different ways. I was molested as a child, okay? Dealt Never really dealt with it, never really addressed it. Went to a conference in 2019. Just the lady was selling makeup and she shared her story about how she was able to get free help at a what is it called now? It was called Haven at the time, but now it's called Sapria. You can go to sapria.org. It is a 4-day workshop that's completely free. You just have to get yourself to the workshop and then back home safely. They have a location in Utah and a location in Georgia. That lady didn't know me. She was there to sell makeup, but she followed the prompting of God. And because of her, I was able to attend that workshop and really start to break down some walls. Her story matters, her voice matters, and it's made a difference in my life. I don't know that lady's name. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. I don't even know if I have remember what she looks like. You got your Baptist finger up?
I did. So what I want to do before we get up out of here, because I know you wanted to keep your 30-minute window. So right now, I asked you off the podcast to give a glorious declaration of where you see us growing the podcast, or where you see us going with the podcast, or it's just a declaration that you weren't so privy to do in the first one that I'm asking you to do now, and then I'll give mine and we'll close it out.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to finish my story because I am the executive producer of this podcast. But I'm going to say it because when you talk about glorious vision, that's the glorious vision for me, that somebody's life will be changed in a positive way because of this podcast. I don't schedule my week around our recordings just to have something to do. I really want somebody's life to be changed. I want them to be able to walk out their purpose, for them to be free, for them to be whole, for them to experience a life that's worth living. Of course, life for us is not going to be heaven on earth. This is not our home. As a Christian, this is not your home. This is not the final destination. You're just passing through. But I want people to be able to walk in freedom and experience true joy and peace on this side of glory. So that is my goal, my aim with the podcast. You and I have a lot of fun. We get to laugh, giggle, but we also get to share important aspects of our life and important things about us. And at the end of the day, I want my life to have had purpose, and I want somebody to have been helped. I want people to come to know Jesus, and experience him for themselves. Any other? You go ahead with
Okay.
your goals and ambitions.
So my big goals, or what I think about, is I want us to be able to take this podcast and things on the road, to be able to engage people in different workshops, to be able to do things that allow both of us to further use the gifts that we have. So whether it's event planning for you, whether it's music and stuff for me, and also podcasting, I want to like share those tools and share those things with others in a way that's like fun. So like if we're doing a music, concert, I'd like to, perform with a Johnny Mac or Lecrae or, all of those people within that Christian sphere, because I do want to have a Christian experience thing that is like safe for the people who understand that life is not so binary. And I mean that in a way of like, there's often this stigma of what you got to be when you a Christian and how you can have fun, how you can interact. And it keeps us from a lot of gifts and things that God has for us that aren't, quote unquote, the traditional sense. So I want to build a space where other gospel and or Christian creatives and things of that nature are able to kind of come together and really push the content and things that need to be pushed to a different level. And I think we have that ability with the things that we talk about in terms of people talking about their testimony. I want people to be able to, start making the content and things of that nature that is glorifying to the kingdom, but speaks to those who need it and speaks to the people who are struggling with it. And the only way we can do that is to think about how we're presenting the content, allow the creativity that God has placed in us to flourish, and not be so controlled by thinking that somebody's going to misinterpret what it is that we're doing. If there's this situation that you're dealing with in a show, or if there's this situation that you're talking about on a podcast, or if there's, this kind of presentation that you're giving in a song, I think that we have the capacity to do those things. So ultimately, I want to tour with this and be able to give the gospel creative a home.
I will say that we do have a shared vision and that we want this to be a safe place for people to talk about their Christian life and their Christian experience. And though our visions differ, right? I don't really have the vision for like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he ain't gave me like, but he has definitely given me, girl, this is part of purpose. People's stories matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at just some stuff I did back in the day. And I've always been fascinated with people's stories. People's stories have always mattered to me. And I think the older I get, the more I realize just how much power there is in people's testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a living witness on this podcast. Testimony does not mean tell all. You don't have to tell people every detail of everything that's ever happened to you, but even you verbalizing whatever you're going through, it really can be a tremendous help to somebody else that's in need. And so I am grateful that God has given me the opportunity to have a platform to talk about real life issues in real ways. One thing that is for certain is that Bible Study Brother and I are not perfect, but I definitely have seen a lot of progression from that inaugural episode to today in our podcasting abilities, but more importantly, in our walks with Christ. And that's what makes me happy and excited and grateful that I get to do this with you, brother, even though there is a question mark around this executive producer. I love you. I love you. And I want you to know that I love you and I appreciate you. And I thank you for pushing me and rocking with me with my bossy self.
I mean, yeah, I got to, because that is the charge of my life. But I love you as well. And we also love each and every one of you listening, engaging with this podcast, because it means the world to like have the community that we're building. And, it all starts with community. So I say that to say, remember that there are blog posts every day over at BibleStudyGirl.com. You can find our socials down in the description to where you can reach out and contact with us. We would definitely like for you to hit us up on Facebook, though. Message us there. Or hit us up at BibleStudyGirl2019.com at gmail.com. BibleStudyGirl2019 at gmail.com. I said that in a weird way. So that way, if you want to come on to be a guest or anything of that nature, you can hit us up there. And remember, guys, listen. Well, actually, remember this. As you can see this here podcast, I am an executive producer. And I have executive access to my sister's account, meaning I can see her DMs.
On Bible Study Girl, he definitely can.
No. I can see her DMs. Let's just leave it at that. Like, either way, I promise you, I got access to either or. Like, I just removed certain access because I was like, oh, because we were trying to work something out, but I still remember and have that access. So I said all that to say they say a whole lot, but Play With Me ain't one of them. But anyway, remember, guys, it's
I want you to reach out with your testimonies, or if you want to be on the show.
That's what I'm saying. Reach out for testimonies. Testimonies.
Well, I think what he's saying is he don't want nobody trying to submit an application
to be her. Oh yeah, we just talked about you and your husband. Don't submit applications because I can see them, and a lot of y'all is.
Please don't. Let's be real. I think that's the perfect place for them to submit applications, so you can read through them and you can come up with.
Oh sure, yeah. Just know that I'm reading through them. That's all. Just know that. Just know. So,
and if he catches them before me, he's like,
oh, if I catch it, you quick delete it. She never saw it. Trust and believe, she never saw it. But you keep trying, champ.
That's why I need a man with persistence, huh? Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah, okay. You'll find persistence.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, y'all. But it's not. And see, I told you because I played with them. But yeah, y'all. It's not I preach. It's not you preach, but we preach.
And until we meet again, guys, keep preaching.
Peace.
Recording stopped.